Good day. Welcome to this presentation. In this presentation, I will explain how to use Bloom's Taxonomy Matrix in analyzing and clarifying outcomes. Before we proceed, let us review Bloom's Taxonomy. You all know that Bloom's Taxonomy has two major dimensions, the cognitive and knowledge dimensions. Let's start reviewing the cognitive dimensions. The cognitive dimensions start from remember, followed by understand. You go up to apply, analyze, evaluate, and of course create. The first three, remember, understand, apply, are considered the lower order thinking skills, while analyze, evaluate, and create are considered the higher order thinking skills. But you all know that to be able to remember, you need to remember something, right? And that's where the knowledge dimension played a role. To be able to remember, you need, as I said, the knowledge dimension or knowledge dimensions. And these are your factual knowledge, your conceptual knowledge, your procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. I will not discuss in detail all of these elements, but suffice it to say that you need to know them to be able to properly analyze and clarify your intended learning outcomes. Let's look at the Bloom's taxonomy again in another perspective. And what you see here on the left side are your knowledge dimensions: facts, concepts, procedure, and metacognition. On the pyramid side, you have remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. As I said, you remember facts, concepts, procedures, and metacognition. You understand facts, concepts, procedure, metacognition up the pyramid. But as you go up from apply to analyze to evaluate to create, you must remember that at this particular level, what the student should actually do is integrate all the knowledge dimension so that they will be able to analyze, evaluate. So as shown in this slide, I embedded all the knowledge dimension in each of the levels of the cognitive dimension. But my idea of making it a pyramid is that as you go up the higher taxonomy level, you integrate much more the concepts that you remember, the concepts or the knowledge that you understood, and the procedures that you are applying so that you can do something at the higher order thinking skills. So let us now use what we reviewed in the last few slides in analyzing cognitive and knowledge dimension of intended learning outcomes. Let's use as an example management of patient with hypertension as a topic. Using an OBE framework, we always start from the highest order thinking. So let's start by filling up the first column or the last column on the right. So you have follow-up plan, management plan. Remember, I did not put any verb at this particular point. just the concepts. So says evaluate at the conceptual knowledge level status of patient, example type of hypertension, analyze patient BP for the last 3 months, take BP from real patients, understand differences between normal and abnormal values, how BP taking equipment works. You have to differentiate this from steps in taking blood pressure. And at the remember dimension, you have normal BP values, anatomy of cardiovascular system, blood pressure, hemodynamics, how to take BP using aneroid sphygmomanometer. But let us not also forget that there is still the missing metacognitive knowledge dimension. So at the create level, you have personal plan to master competencies. But to create a plan, you need to be able to evaluate your own performance level, and you, in the evaluation of your performance level, will be dependent on the analysis of the errors in the performance of the procedure, which you were able to identify by assessing your own performance. So you take a BP from real patient, you assess, but of course, the only way for you to assess your own performance is to know exactly what are the most or the appropriate steps or the correct steps in performing blood pressure taking using an aneroid sphygmomanometer. To statement of outcomes. As I said, in the statement of outcome, you just need to add a verb or the verbs appropriate for the particular dimension. Let's say from the create, we bring down the follow-up plan. Let's add a verb to that, and now the statement will be at the end of the module. Students will be able to formulate a follow-up plan or prepare a management plan for a patient with a certain type of hypertension. And on the metacognitive side, you can convert as an ILO, the one in the bottom, prepare a personal plan to master related competencies. Break it down further. Let's focus at this point to preparing a management plan. And to be able to prepare a management plan, you need to evaluate the patient, right? So you bring that evaluate there, and let's formulate a new ILO. So given patient's BP history, we'll be able to classify patient as to type and stage of hypertension. We bring down the analyze. So given patient will be able to collect BP history. And of course, take a BP using sphygmomanometer accurately. Let's add the verb coming from the understand and remember dimensions. So let's start with the understand dimension. We bring down the difference between normal and abnormal values, how BP taking equipment works, and add verbs to them, and just say what we will have now will be explain the difference between normal and abnormal values. Discuss how a BP taking equipment like sphygmomanometer works. And let's bring down remember and now add verbs to them. So our statement will be give the normal BP values, list the anatomical structure, discuss blood pressure, define hemodynamics, enumerate the steps in taking BP using aneroid sphygmomanometer. So now you have appropriate verbs for each dimension. And now you have a complete set of outcomes. Technically, we're able to produce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, almost 12 outcomes based on the analysis that we did of the Blooms Taxonomy Matrix. Lastly, I don't want you to forget about metacognitive knowledge because they are as important as the others. Let's say we are now into given a patient will be able to collect BP history or take BP using a sphygmomanometer accurately. Then you will have recognize own errors in performing the procedure if you bring down the apply analyze dimension. And for the performance level, you can say, or you can add, using results of assessment of own performance, prepare a personal plan to further improve BP taking techniques. So here you are, or there you are, we're able to formulate, actually analyze and clarify outcomes using the cognitive process dimension and the knowledge dimension of the Bloom's Taxonomy Matrix. Take note that the items here are not necessarily exhaustive and are only used for illustration purposes and should not be considered as a complete listing of outcomes related, for example, to the topic on managing patient with hypertension. This is all for now. Good day.